while you're being fitted out for a suit and pair of shoes made for you so that you can be there in your finest on the big day, you're being followed by photographers at various times. Did you speak to Prince Harry and Meghan about what you should do about that unwanted intrusion?
For the most part, it was always don't speak to the press. But they were very emphatic about not giving any information to the press or talking to them because it just encourages them more. So nonetheless, that's what I tried to do.
Thomas, we got to like 2 weeks, say, before the wedding. At that stage, this was before the pictures had come out of you apparently colluding with the photographer and so on. At that stage, say 2 weeks before the wedding, was it absolutely, even then, your intention to walk Meghan down the aisle, and were you feeling excited about that?
Yes, I was excited about it and ready for it. The idea of everything being and me going to England, that was set. It was all set in place for me to go. But
would it have been easier, do you think, with hindsight, if you had come to England a little bit earlier and had some time, perhaps, to calm down, you know, acclimatise to all the build-up to the wedding and so on?
I thought about that and thought about that might be a good idea. But here again, those guys were busy. I mean, every day those guys were really busy. I think that's the last thing they needed was me popping in. So...
I mean, the good thing is, Thomas, these palaces have a lot of bedrooms. I mean, they can tuck you away in the corner and no one would even know you're there. let me talk...
Someone will always find me.
That is true. That is true. I remember I spoke to Princess Diana once, and she said she could go and live in an igloo in the middle of Antarctica, and somebody would bang on the igloo door and say, "You're Princess Diana." And I think that's the thing about being with the royals, is there is really no escape. I recognise that. Which brings me to these pictures, Thomas. So the Mail on Sunday, the week before the wedding, come out with this big front page expose, and it appears to show you collaborating with a photographer to create pictures which we had by then all seen around the world, of you in an internet cafe looking charmingly at pictures of Harry and Meghan, of you looking at castles and so on. But then it came out that it appeared that you had helped set these pictures up. Let me just ask you from the start about this. What was your thinking in setting up those pictures? What had been going on that made you think this would be a good idea?
This was a presentation to me to change my image, because for the last year, photographs of me were always like derogatory. They would take pictures of my hand grabbing a beer. They'd take pictures of me getting in my car, taking the garbage out. They'd take pictures of me buying a toilet and making a big deal out of it. They take all kinds of pictures of me making me look negative. So I thought this would be a nice way of improving my look. Well, obviously that all went to hell. And I feel bad about it. I apologize for it, and that's all I can do. I can't do much beyond that, but that was a mistake.
The biggest problem, I think, from certainly the royal perspective, was that Prince Harry, for very obvious reasons connected to his mother and so on, has always had a sort of pathological hatred of paparazzi, and, you know, he's been very, very determined to try and protect the privacy of Meghan. And then here it looked like, you know, here's her dad, you know, working with paparazzi to not con the papers, but, you know, stage pictures and create a good image of himself. It sort of flied in the face, really, of what Harry had been hoping to achieve.
Got it, but I didn't do this for money. I did this to change my image. For one whole year, I was presented as a hermit living and hiding out in Mexico. I was looking to change my image. And obviously that was a mistake. It went wrong.
It was reported, Thomas, that Meghan was very upset when that story appeared. Is that true? Did you speak to her in the immediate aftermath?
I spoke to them both and I apologized. I realized it was a serious mistake, but hard to take it back. But But here again, it was a change. It was to improve my look. I had been seen as a negative for an entire year. I just wanted to improve my look.
That must have been a very difficult conversation that you had with them both once that story came out.
No, actually it wasn't, and they were very forgiving. It wasn't that difficult. Both Harry and Meghan were very forgiving about it.
Did they, at that stage, then say, we still want you on that plane coming over, and Meghan said, I still want you giving me away?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Meghan said, everything is ready for you. Harry said, I've got one of my military friends to take care of you when you're here. It was all set up. It was fine. So
the tickets were still booked, and you were ready to board the plane and come over?
Everything was booked. Everything was booked.
What happened next, Thomas? There's been so much speculation about why, in the end, you didn't get on that plane and didn't come to the wedding. What is the truth?
The truth is that I couldn't get over the fact that that had happened. All of that stuff was working on me. I've got a bit of a heart condition. This pushed me a little further to the point where I had heart palpitations. I had to drive at 2 in the morning into Rosarito to a hospital. And they sent me to another little hospital. And then they sent me to a bigger hospital, Rosarito General Hospital, and I had a heart attack.
And to have that happen to you in the week of, for your family, the biggest week really probably the family's had, I guess, it must have been, obviously for you, an agonising, genuinely, physically agonising, but also mentally agonising thing to have happened. At what point did you realise that you were just not going to be able to make the trip?
Well, the hospital stabilized me. They brought me in and they said, we can stabilize you. And after about a day and a half in that hospital, I said, I feel better and I want to go. And I want to check out now because I want to go to the wedding. I had to have myself signed out and had to leave on my own against their wishes, but I checked out and I thought it was better. I thought I felt really good. And
then what happened?
Well, I talked to Harry and Meghan. So we were still set up to go. We're going to go the next day or the day after. I got a call from a guy named Sarge, who was assigned by Harry, I think. And he said, we're going to take you tonight. And at that time, I started getting heart palpitations. And at that time, I started getting chest pains. And I said, I have to cancel. And that was because I didn't take care of the heart problem before. So I had to have a friend take me back to a hospital across the border in the States, where I was told that my condition was very bad and they had to operate. And I had a heart surgery.
And at what point, Thomas, did you tell Meghan that you would not be able to make the wedding?
I told her before I was going in for the surgery. This was the second time in the hospital. This was the hospital in the States. This was, can I comp the hospital?
Yes, yeah, sure, yeah.
This is Sharp Medical Center in just across the border by 10 miles. And it's a great doctor, great hospital. They took great care of me. And they did a surgery. They went up through my groin, took a dye, put dye into my system, removed the dye, found a place in my heart, fixed it, and said the operation was a success. The doctor said, this is what doctors call the widowmaker. It would have killed me. So I was in the hospital. I'm better now.
And it was a blockage, I think, on your aorta. Is that right, Thomas?
Yes, sir, right, yeah.
And first question, how do you feel now, given it's been a few weeks since that surgery? Are you OK, health-wise?
Well, I'm slowed down a bit, but I'm feeling better.
Well, that's very good to hear. But that conversation must have been incredibly difficult for you when you said to Meghan, I can't come.
Yeah, they were disappointed, but they both said, and Meghan cried, I'm sure, but she did cry, and they both said, take care of yourself, we're really worried about you. So they said the important thing was that I get better.
She must have been so worried about you. I mean, it was just days, wasn't it, before the wedding? And her poor father has undergone surgery. And not only are you not able to make it, but your health was of utmost importance to her.
Right.
Did she offer Thomas to come and see you, to fly straight over?
They talked about that, and I suggested that I'd be out of the surgery, I'd be recovering, I'd be fine, and you know, worry about the wedding. You know, I couldn't go, but I said worry about the wedding, and then please go on a honeymoon, because they've been tied into this for like a month. So
when you realised, Thomas, that
it was positive.
When you realised that it would be Prince Charles who would be stepping in for you, how did you feel about that?
I was honoured. I can't think of a better replacement than someone like Prince Charles. You know, he looked very handsome, and my daughter looked beautiful with him. I was jealous. I wish I had been there. I wish it had been me. But thank God he was there, and thank him for that.
Have you spoken to Prince Charles at all?
Have I spoken to him?
Yeah.
Never. Never.
If you got the chance to speak to Prince Charles, what would you say to him?
Thank you.
Thomas, where were you?
And it might have been a treat. It might have been a treat for him as well, because he didn't have a daughter.
Right. Absolutely right. I mean, he's never had the chance to do that. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
Thomas, where were you when you watched the wedding?
I was in a, because we had the press all around the hospital, a friend found me a place, a little B&B place to hide for 2 or 3 days and recover. So they got me to this little place, and in this little apartment, I watched the wedding.
I mean, what an amazing thought that there you are in this little, little place, watching on a small television set, your daughter marrying into the British royal family. You must have felt, notwithstanding all the difficulties that had happened, you must have felt tremendous pride seeing how beautiful she looked on the day and how successful it all was.
She was beautiful. It was incredible watching her. I cried a little bit about it, but she was so beautiful walking down that aisle, and so proud and so gorgeous. I was very proud. I couldn't have seen a better moment in my life. I was very upset that it wasn't me, but the whole world was watching my daughter. I was very happy about that.
Was it a very emotional?
And now the unfortunate thing for me now is that I'm a footnote in one of the greatest moments in history, rather than the dad walking her down the aisle. So that upsets me somewhat.
You know, Thomas, I get why you think that, but actually you became a figure that I think most people that I've spoken to felt incredibly sorry for and felt great empathy for, because, you're just a regular guy, clearly, who just got plunged into this extraordinary world. It's very stressful. It's very difficult. Dealing with the press on that scale when you've never had to do with it before, and I've been on both sides of it, it can be incredibly difficult. And I don't think anyone felt anything but great sympathy for you. Was it an emotional thing for you, Thomas, to watch that wedding in this little room on your television set? Did you get emotional?
Yes, it's a very emotional moment for me. Like I said, I cried about it. And I regretted it because I really wanted to walk my daughter down the aisle. I wanted that moment. But I'm thankful for everything the way it went.